Welcome to Telly Talk, where we talk about what is on the telly. And by that, we mean what's on our minds. Because we're Telly. I'm
Wait,
Tyler. I'm hyper
there's a fire!
fixated on
Oh my
screen.
god, there's a fire! Hi, I'm a firefighter.
I'm Tyler. I'm a fire truck dog. I'm a Dalmatian.
I'm a fire truck dog.
We watched the only horror movie I can handle because it's more like a whodunit. Scream, the original, because there's 6 now.
That's too many. 5, I feel like should have been the cutoff.
Well, 5 started a new trilogy.
Fuck you.
But also, okay, because we could talk about this more when we do the 5th one next year, so you better subscribe to us, so that way in a year from now when we do the 5th one, you can watch
We
it.
have videos
But
planned
5,
all the way until next October. That's not a lie.
5 had the pressure of being a revamp sequel because it came like a good 10 years after 4. And it rebooted the franchise with like a sequel cast of characters, and that's like kind of like Star Wars and the new Star Wars movies, and that's a lot of pressure for a franchise because you want it to be just as good as like the original and not feel like you're dragging on or being cheesy. But also it's Scream, and the whole thing about Scream is it's a self-aware horror movie, which I could also talk about for a long time. It's my favorite thing about it. So they're basically like, we're a revamped sequel. So these are the rules of a revamped sequel, and here's what we gotta do. And the stakes are high because they want to make sure the original audience knows that this isn't just like a silly sequel, like there's still stakes, and that's why they kill Dewey in the 5th one. Which you didn't know. So if you like Dewey, I'm sorry.
What? I have a confession.
I feel like you'd like Dewey. He has a mustache.
I have a confession.
What's your confession?
I didn't watch the movie, but I did watch it
What?
back in February.
February? That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. So I like very brief clips. I did try and play it 2 days ago on my TV.
Did you know they were supposed to kill Dewey in the original, but he tested so well with audiences that they kept him alive? I think it's funny. He was like a fan favorite in the test group, so they were like, okay, we'll keep him.
To be honest, I don't even know who you're talking about.
My God.
No. I just need to match a picture with a name.
The police guy, the silly police guy. There were like 3 main characters of the series. He's the only male. Oh my god.
Alright, no, I got this. Oh, that guy! Yeah.
But yeah, they kill him in the 5th one because it's a revamp sequel and they want the audience to know that the stakes are still high and that like they should take this movie seriously. So he dies. Which I could talk about later because I have thoughts.
Can I just say my one opinion about this movie that I remember?
Yeah, share your opinion.
I think Stu and Billy are so gay for each other.
Gay.
So
They're
so
no,
gay.
Do you see how he like kisses him? Like he just, oh my god, like his, in that one scene, like in the killer reveal, and his like, that's in my notes too. His
They're
like
so
mouth
gay.
is into his shoulder.
Yeah.
And, oh my god.
The way
He's
they
like, I
like
did this because of peer
hold
pressure.
each other.
They hold each other. He's the only male character who like wasn't implied to have feelings for Sid, I think. I don't know, I think he's gay. Have you seen the movie, I think it's called Scary Movie, that's like mostly a comedy that makes fun of Scream?
I've seen
Because
Scary
they have a
Movie
character
3.
They have a character in that. I've only seen the first like half hour of it, but they have a character in that who's like, he's a straight guy, but he's really obviously really, really gay. And me and my friends think that it's making fun of Stu.
Matthew Lillard.
Like they're both gay.
My guy.
Matthew Lillard has such a range. He like, what do you mean that's
man.
Shaggy? What do you? The
What do you mean
range
that's Shaggy?
is incredible.
What do you mean he played a stupid misogynistic white man in a feminist TV show. What do you mean he's playing Michael Afton in the new FNAF movie? Like,
He
I
has.
fucking love
I respect
Matthew
him
Lillard.
so much. Okay, I have like a million notes. I've only started watching this movie recently. Basically, my little. I'm gonna tell this story. My little sequence of events for how I got into Scream is winter semester of college. At some point, like maybe like February, I went to my friend's dorm for dinner, and one of their roommates was watching the fourth Scream movie, but it was like the last 30 minutes, and I've never seen any of them before, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Um, Fast forward a month. I'm at a different friend's house with like two other friends, and they all like horror movies, but I can't watch horror movies that are like supernatural based, which most horror movies are. I can watch like slashers or like thrillers, but I can't watch paranormal based horror movies.
Why
So,
not?
I had sleep paralysis when I was like 15 or 16 really badly, and it freaked me out a lot. I would see like a ghost in my room, and it was really scary, and it kind of
Ghost.
traumatized me.
Spooky. What if you see Ghostface?
No, I don't want to be traumatized by my hyperfixation. So, I we're talking about horror movies, and one of them, these two people have the same taste in horror movies, except for the fact that one of them loves the Scream franchise and the other one doesn't like any slashers. That's the only difference in their horror movie taste. And we're trying to pick a horror movie to watch, and I mentioned that like I watched the last 30 minutes of the fourth Scream movie and like I was okay with it. So if you guys want to watch a horror movie, we can put that on. Um Now, here's where I got kind of silly goofy. The fourth Scream movie is from like 2011, but I also was aware that a new Scream movie had just come out. Apparently, two of them just came out. Like the fifth and the sixth one came out the last 2 years. But I didn't know that because I didn't know anything about this. And the fourth one looked relatively modern, so I thought the fourth one was the new one. And I also was aware that Jenna Ortega was in the new one, and I spent the whole movie being like, none of these people look like Jenna Ortega. Which one is Jenna Ortega? Because I'm really, really face blind. And then,
Me too, me
also,
too.
the two main characters of the Scream franchise, the two woman leads, there's the news reporter Gail, and there's the, like, final girl character Sydney, who's a high schooler in the first movie, a college student in the second movie, and just like a normal adult for the rest of the movies. And I'm really face blind, and I had never seen any other Scream movie, so I don't know who these characters are, and the movie assumes you know who these characters are because it's the fucking fourth movie. So, I tell characters apart by their hair, and in the fourth Scream movie, not in any other Scream movie, just the fourth one, Sydney and Gail have the same hair, and I spent the entire movie thinking they were the same character, and they were not the same character. And I spent the entire movie looking for Jenna Ortega when Jenna Ortega was not in the movie. And the the point of the story is I didn't know what the fuck was going on at any point in time because I thought two different characters were the same person, and I was oh so desperately confused. And I remember, like, the key plot points of the movie, but I could not tell you what the fuck happened. So, but I also, like, I liked it. I just didn't know what was going on because I'm face blind and stupid. So we watched the first one together, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And then we watched the rest of them, and I, like, got obsessed with it.
Amazing,
And
amazing
then,
origin story.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm taking a bow as we speak. Okay, we start at the opening scene, where I have 4 notes, but I could talk a lot about them. The opening scene
Wait, can I say
is like,
my one thought about the opening
yes,
scene?
say your one thought because I have a lot to say about it.
I thought it was funny that Drew Barrymore's character. First off, I didn't even know that was Drew Barrymore until someone pointed it out. I think it was her hair that really put me off from that. But the opening scene where like she's talking to the guy on the phone. He like asked her like what her favorite horror movie was, and she's like Halloween, and then he's like, okay, who plays the villain? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know the guy who plays the villain in your favorite movie? Like, how do you not know that?
My
Like,
my
what?
best guess is that when you are in a very scary situation like that, because they asked the villain after, like, he was like, we're gonna play a game, if you get the question wrong, your boyfriend dies, and I'm threatening you outside of your house. So, my best guess is, like, when someone puts you on the spot, your brain kind of turns off.
Yes.
Like, when someone asks you, like, what's your favorite song, and all of a sudden you're just like, man, I've never heard a song in my life.
Well, if someone was like, well, what's your favorite band? I'd be like, oh, Greta Van Fleet. Your favorite member? I'm not gonna be like, uh, I'd be like, it's Josh. Like, there's only so limited
Well,
people to think of.
I don't know, sometimes your brain just kind of turns off when you're in a very scary situation and put on the spot. I think it's a very normal reaction.
I
That may just
guess.
not be how your brain works, though. Like, your brain may just not work like that, but it's a very common thing.
Whatever.
Whatever. Okay, do you know how much I have to say about Drew Barrymore? Because it's a lot. Basically, when, from, like, my knowledge, when Scream was, like, coming out, Drew Barrymore's character was marketed as the main character. If you look at the Scream poster, she's the first girl on the poster. The main trio? The main fucking trio of the Scream franchise?
Yeah.
No pics of them. They don't have any pictures. They, it's literally just Drew Barrymore and the two killers. Those are the only characters, apparently.
Yeah. That's all you need.
Like,
Yeah.
like everyone loves Drew Barrymore. Like, she's like the hot thing going on right now, right? So it's like, ooh, horror movie, Drew Barrymore's the girl. Like, everyone's like, oh my god, I want to go see it. And she's marketed as the character in the movie. And then you get to the movie, and she fucking dies in the first 10 minutes. And it, like, immediately subverted all of the expectations you had going into the movie. Like, it was very shocking at the time for that to have happened. Like, the girl marketed as, like, the final girl fucking dies right away.
Yeah.
And it's just immediately removes your comfort zone, which is really cool. And also, you don't have to look at it right now if you don't want to, but if you look at the poster for the first Scream movie, it's really funny because you can tell they did the photo shoot for it, like, after filming, because none of the characters look how they did in the movie. Like, someone's hair color is different. Billy grew a beard and a mustache, and he's just like that on the poster, even though he does not have that in the movie. Like, everyone looks different, and it's so funny.
Also, like, why is Drew Barrymore in the front?
Because she was marketed as the it girl. That's why the first scene is so, like, removing your comfort zone and, like, throwing you off. Because everyone,
Well,
Scream marketed her as, like, the main character final girl, and then they killed her right away. And that really threw people off for the rest of the movie.
I get using her as like the like the shadow up close. You know that picture of her like covering her mouth, like that. I get. But her being like, wait, they forgot Matthew Lillard in this poster. He's just not in there.
Yes, he's not here.
He's not in there. What the fuck?
But do you see how different Billy looks? Like,
Yes.
his hair is, like, darker,
Yeah.
and he has a facial hair.
Yeah. It's so funny. That poster's so bad.
Scream did a lot of things that was very much, like, subverting expectations at the time, which is really, really cool. And I have more points about this later. But my next note was that the music felt extremely loud compared to the dialogue. But the music is good, so I don't care.
They probably do that a lot. They did that a lot in the 90s, because we complained about Cape Fear.
Cape Fear, too.
And that came out in the 90s. So I guess the 90s just didn't know how to mix the sounds, the audio together very well.
God damn it. It's just, like, a little odd, but I feel like if you were, like, it's a scary movie. I feel like if you're watching in the theater, like, your adrenaline pumping, like the loud music, so it's fine. But it's so hard because I'm like trying to watch it at a reasonable volume, but then I can't hear what the characters are saying. But then if I turn it up, the music's like ah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the opening scene? How they stab Drew Barrymore's character and like drag her through the grass, and like she's on the phone with her parents on the other end, and she's like breathing or whatever, and then like 30 seconds goes by and her parents go outside and they see her strung up by her intestines in a tree.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
the fuck did they hang her so fucking fast? Like, they took her intestines out and hung her with them in the span of like 30 seconds. How the fuck did they do that?
They're skilled.
They
They've done it
practice.
before, they
Just
do it again.
imagine they just have like a dummy with like some rope and we're like, okay, we gotta get real quick at this.
I mean, yeah, how do you think they're so good at what they do? They practice.
I don't know. They're teenage boys. I don't know. They're running on pure testosterone.
They did it because testosterone powers.
They did it because testosterone powers. I don't know if you remember how they introduced that, but they hinted at it multiple times before revealing to us what actually happened, and I thought it was so well done because it's like, this is the biggest murder this town has seen since ... And then like she goes to the police office after the first murder and it's like, oh, she's the daughter of, you know. And then it's like ... And then it's like, oh, fuck that bitch Gail. Like ... And then it like cuts to like a news thing and then it like tells you what actually happened and it's like,
Yeah.
this woman was raped and murdered a year ago, and like that's when it hits you. But like they like allude to it like 3 times in the span of 10 minutes before revealing it, and I thought that was so well done. After Billy gets caught like at Sidney's house with a phone in his pocket, which wasn't common at the time, they're like, oh, this guy is the killer who makes phone calls, so to prove it's him, we're gonna we're gonna go through his cell phone history. And then they were like, oh, we went through his cell phone history, it wasn't him, he's free to go. And do they really think that this serial killer is just going to use his own phone number to make his serial killer calls? Like, do they genuinely believe that? What the fuck? They're just like, oh, we're gonna check your phone. Not you, free to go, man.
I mean, doesn't he use the phone later to like
He didn't use his own number though.
Oh.
He copies Sidney's dad's number to frame him. They like duplicated his number, or however that works.
Well, I feel like, because the boys are like super smart because of their testosterone powers, they were smart enough to be like, oh, we shouldn't use our number. But also back then, I feel like you could just easily change, like you can easily edit your call history. Like, I feel like that's an easy thing to do.
So why were they so stupid?
I don't know. That's the 90s.
That's 90s for you, stupid cops, man.
You got stupid cops.
Well, they really
boys,
throw you off your rhythm because in the 6th movie, the cop is the killer in the 6th movie.
What?
Spoiler alert.
What? Spoiler? You can't throw out a spoiler of a movie that came out in the last 10 years? That's
You're
horrible.
right. That's why we're only spoiling the original. One of the funny bits is this part where Gail, the reporter, is like, oh my god, if we can prove that this killer was also the person who murdered Sidney's mom, we could be saving an innocent man who's on death row. And you're like, wow, this girl has been bitchy this whole movie, but that was like a really noble thing to say. And then, like, you wait a beat, and then she goes, do you know how good that would be for my book sales?
God. Gail, come on, you were a good person for a second. Gosh.
Oh my god, can I rant about Gail?
Yes.
listen, she's great when she's in her good person zone, but basically what the Scream movies do is every single movie Gale starts shitty. In every single movie she has character development. In every single movie she ends a better person than she was at the beginning of the movie. And then there's a gap between movies. There's a gap between the movies, every movie, of like minimum like a year, but usually like much more than that. And in that gap between the movies, she becomes a terrible person again. So she starts the next movie a fucking bitch, and that repeats for all 6 movies. And it's exhausting because you know what she's like when she's had her character development and she's like in her little good person zone, but it never sticks. And then she's like a bitch again. Like in the 5th movie, she starts a bitch, and then Dewey dies, who's her love interest through all the movies. And at the end of the movie, she's like, you know what? For the first time ever, I'm not going to write a book about these murders. I'm going to write a book about a really brave police officer, Dewey. And you're like, oh, that's such a sweet character development. And then the 6th movie starts, and there was like a year-long gap. And then you find out that she went back on her word and actually did write a book about the murders, and like wrote a really bitchy book like she does, where she like says really shitty things about people that aren't necessarily true, instead of like, you know, having the character development to be a better person. And you're just like, Gale, not again.
Gale!
This is the 6th time.
God damn it,
pisses
Gale.
me off. God damn it, Gale. Why can't you have character development that sticks?
Gale is like one of those like Gen X girlies who like the point just goes right over their head.
Mm-hmm,
like they say the point. They're like, this is the point. And you're like, yes, you got the point. And then they turn around and they're like, man, the opposite of the point.
Opposite
I'm going
of the point.
with that.
Oh my god. So in every single movie, like, Sidney punches her, which is really fucking funny. And Sidney's pissed at her in the 1st movie because she wrote a lot of things about her mom's murder, and also implied Sidney was like a liar for falsely identifying her murderer.
Yeah.
Which, you know, wasn't her fault. And Sidney, in like the bitchiest tone, was like, oh yeah, you're gonna send me a copy of your book? And she's like, oh yeah, do you want one? And she's like, no, the fuck I don't. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Gale?
She only cares if you're interested in profiting for her.
Yeah, but then it's like, each movie she has character development, and by the end of the movie, she's like, actually, I am a good person, and I care about people, and I'm gonna be better. And then I hate how they write her, because then it just restarts the next movie. She's a piece of work. And that leads into my next note, where when Gale and Dewey interact for the first time, there's this bit that they do, where Dewey's like, oh man, I've never watched your show, and I'm 25 years old, and Gale's like, oh, well, you know, polls say that I am most popular with teenage boys 12 to 24, and then they do like a bit where he's like, he says he's 25, and she's like, man, you don't look a day over 12. And like, Gale, you're flirting with a grown man by telling him he looks 12. What kind of flirting is
weird.
that, Gale? Why do you flirt by telling someone they look 12?
That's so
oh my
weird.
God.
That's
I know.
So gross.
And then like, Dewey has this mic drop moment where he's like, well, you're prettier in person than you are on the TV. And she's like, oh, you have seen my show. And he's like, well, I'm 25. That means I was 24 for a whole year. He walks away like he just owned this plate. It's so bad. They are the 2 worst flirters I've ever seen in the entire world.
That's how autistic people flirt. They just like, they don't know they're flirting, but they're like low-key flirting, but their flirting is really bad. And they both just don't even
Is
realize it.
Gail autistic with how, like, the point goes over her head and she doesn't know when people are being sarcastic with her?
I don't know. I'd have to rewatch and analyze her character.
There's this part right before the principal gets killed where he looks out and he sees a janitor wearing, like, a striped red and black shirt or something, and something something, and then he's like, okay, hi, Fred. And, I've never seen horror movies, so I didn't pick this up, but my roommate I was watching it with was like, holy fuck, that was a Freddy reference. Like, Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger. And I was like, oh, that's really cool, but I never once would have picked that up. Right before we got to, like, the final scene, I was like, man, there's not a lot of kills in this. And then I forgot, like, how many people die at the end, because I was like, the only people who've died so far are the two opening people. I kind of forgot about the boyfriend, too, at the beginning. Like, I knew Drew Barrymore died. I love when we randomly refer to characters by the actor's name, like when we did
Yeah.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
um,
Well, that was confusing.
yeah, you're right. Drew Barrymore's character, I think, is named Casey, but fuck that. Drew Barrymore, but I forgot her boyfriend also dies at the beginning. He's not very relevant. Steve?
We don't care
Question
about
mark?
him.
We don't care about him. And then the principal dies, and the best friend dies. And I'm like, oh, only 4 people die. That's not very many. But I forgot that the van driver also dies. And I think that's it. Does anyone else die?
I don't even remember.
Other than, like, the killers getting dead? I don't think
Does the
so. But
does the
I was just
dad
like,
die
man.
or no?
No. He's in the
Okay.
later movies too, I believe.
I kind of remember the end, but I kind of don't. I just kind of remember them being gay.
Oh, don't worry, I'm getting there.
That's everything that stuck with me. Just them being gay.
Okay. Do you remember the part where the character who's, like, works at the movie store and really likes horror movies gives his lecture on, like, the rules of the horror movie?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is the most iconic scene in this fucking movie. Oh my god, it's the entire premise of this franchise is that it's self-aware, and that's what makes it funny to me. That's why I enjoy it so much. Is every single movie is like, oh man, this is the second one, we're in the sequel. These are the rules of the sequel. This is what happens in a sequel, and it cracks me up because most horror movies are self-contained. Like, these characters are getting haunted by a ghost, but it's just, like, scary and it's what's happening. But there's never a moment where they're like, man, this is a lot like a horror movie, which, if it was real life, is pretty much what would happen. Like, if in real life some horror movie shit was going on in my friend group, I would be like, damn, this, like, what the fuck, this is just like a horror movie. And most horror movies don't do that, and this one does. And it's such, like, a real, it makes it feel, like, more real and genuine because it's such, like, a real reaction to what's happening that it's just like, man, this serial killer wearing a ghost mask is stabbing all my friends. We're in a horror movie, guys. Oh, it's happening again. Here's the sequel. It's
I
so perfect.
feel like that's because they like world when they're world building, they included that this is our world, where in other horror movies they're like creating a new world that is basically Earth and
Yeah.
basically our world, but isn't, and horror movies just don't exist and they don't
Mm-hmm.
like include the
Yeah,
horror movies
yeah.
into it. But this one they like were like, horror movies are a thing, this is our world, this is your world, where this could be
And it's
happening literally down the street from you.
literally, that's what I love so much about it, is it, like, instead of feeling like it takes place in a different universe, it feels like it takes place in our universe and is, like, a genuine how me and my friends would react to this happening.
Yeah. I read a review on Letterboxd that was like, this is literally just the live action Among Us, because it's all their friends and they're like, who's the
Oh
imposter,
yeah,
who's the killer.
it's so fun. If you treat Scream as a whodunit, which it basically is, it's so fun because you have a friend group of, like, 7 people who all seem like they, except for the first one when it's obvious, but they all kind of seem like they wouldn't be the killer. And you're just like, man, two of these people are working together to kill everyone else. Who the fuck is it? It's so fun. It's literally Among Us.
I prefer murder mysteries that are like one person dies and one of them is a killer. It's like Clue and like Knives
Yeah.
Out and
Knives
like
Out. I was gonna say
Glass
Knives Out.
Onion. Yeah. It's like I like those
Um,
better.
that's valid. That's what I like about the fifth one so much is because I'm gonna talk about this in a second, but because Scream has typically two killers every movie. There's one movie with one killer, one movie with three killers, but typically two. It's you know that two of these characters are working together to kill everyone. And that's what I liked about 5 is at some point in the movie I kind of got to a place where I was like none of these people working together makes any sense. And then when they reveal who the killers are, it's two people you didn't think knew each other. Like they're people who live in separate towns, like 10 years apart in age, with like completely separate ties to the group. And it turns out that they met like on an internet forum and teamed up to murder this friend group and like specifically sought out this friend group to kill them. But there's no way you could guess both of them because like you guessing one of them makes sense. But then you're just kind of like, who are they working together with? And because you don't know these two people know each other, and it's like, why the fuck would they be working together? And that's what was so fun about the fifth one to me, and it was why it was my favorite.
That's actually really cool.
I know, you would like it. You would like it. Now we get on to another great scene of the movie, the double killer reveal. This was groundbreaking in the horror movie industry. As someone who doesn't watch horror movies but is hyperfixated on this series' impact, groundbreaking shit. Because movies where there's a villain or a killer and it's scary, they don't usually have two killers. And you're watching this movie trying to figure out who the killer is, and you're like, for the most part, it's obvious that it's Billy. Like, the phone falls out of his pocket, he's there at the right time, he's all around kind of menacing,
Yeah.
creepy vibes. But then there's things like, oh, how did he do this when he had an alibi? How did he make the phone call when he was in jail? Like, there's just little things where you're like, it can't be Billy. And then on the opposite end, you watch the movie and you're like, oh, it's so obvious it's Stu. Like, he's very much like, oh, this is something a man would do. Oh my god, do you remember the liver joke? Because the way that he just repeats it when no one laughs cracks me up. He's like,
What?
liver alone. Get it? Liver. Guys, no, why aren't you laughing? Guys, liver, guys. It's so fucking funny. But he's making jokes about it and like giving and then like Billy kind of eyes him like, stop bragging about how you were the one who did the murder. And then it's just like a lot of the things that he does throughout the movie you're just like, oh, he could be the killer. But just like with Billy, there's a lot of little things where you're like, no, he has an alibi for this specific thing, he can't be the killer. And then when it is revealed that there are two killers, it all comes together, and it makes sense how, like, it was both them, but their alibis made it so it couldn't be them, but that's because the other one was doing the killing at the time. And it's so obvious, like, it's right in your face, but it was never done before, so you don't even think of that as an option. But as soon as it's real, you're like, oh, that makes so much fucking sense. Even, like, you're like, it's probably Billy, and then another Ghostface comes out of nowhere and stabs him, and then it's revealed it's fake blood, but at the time, if you're watching it for the first time, you're like, oh fuck, I thought it was Billy, but it wasn't, now he's dead, what's happening? And they reveal it was two of them, and everything comes together, and it's so great, and then the way that they revealed it was so perfect,
And gay.
because and gay, because the boy Billy is like, oh, I'm so sick, Sid, come here, help, and give me the gun, I'll protect you. And then Brandy comes in, and then Billy just like fucking shoots him. And Sid is like, ah! And then she runs, Stu appears, and she's like, Stu, help me, Billy's the murderer. And then Stu is like, actually, I am too. Haha, we got you. And the double reveal back to back is so satisfying to watch. And once you know that they're both the killers, if you rewatch the movie, you can see all the times that it was like actually really obvious. Like after Tatum is killed, the best friend girl, Stu is like hosting the party and Billy comes back and just gives him like a look like I killed her. And it's so obvious, like it's right there that like they're communicating about the kill. And also it's just really gay. And Stu's just really funny throughout it because he's just like kissing Billy and then is like Billy stabs him and he's like, oh, that was like too deep, I'm gonna stab you really hard. And then they just go fucking crazy stabbing each other because of the testosterone powers making them moody. And then Stu's like, oh my god, I'm gonna go to jail, this was all peer pressure, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. I quote that sometimes. But it was just like, he was gonna go to jail for being a serial killer, and he's like, my mom and dad are gonna be mad at me.
Do you think
so
that
funny. It is so funny.
they, like,
Double
the
killer
people,
reveal.
some people at their
Groundbreaking.
school were like, when the news got out that they were the killers, do you think there were like at least like one person that was like, wait, they were the killers? Shit, I thought they were like gay. Like I thought they were dating and they're like hiding it. They were serial killer partners? Like, oh, you know what? That makes so much more sense. Because I just thought they were gay.
I just thought they were gay, man.
Maybe they are, but like, wow, they're serial. But that makes, it
I
really
think they're
clicks
gay
now.
and serial killers.
Yeah.
Some people think that Stu is still alive because we don't see him get shot in the head like every other Ghostface. He just had a TV land on him, and it's very well known in the Scream franchise that the Ghostfaces are like really overpowered, and no matter what the fuck you do to them, you could light them on fire, you could like drop them off a building, you could shoot their heart. No matter what you do, they will not stay dead unless you shoot them through the head. And I think it's really silly because
Testosterone
they
powers?
could just testosterone powers, literally. They could just stay like play dead, so that way they like, wouldn't be killed. But I'm turning on my camera. Every single time they're dead and then like they come back to life, they just kind of go, ah, and then they get shot in the head and die. And it's like, bro, why did you do that? Why didn't you just play dead?
I'm confused.
The testosterone powers brings them back to life.
I'm confused why people don't play dead more often in these types of situations where a person is trying to kill you, but you like are already injured on the floor, basically dying, but you choose to get up and run when you could just pretend to be dead and they would leave you alone. And then when they leave, you can just be like, I am alive still, someone please help me. Like, why don't people do that? In real life, too. Like, people do that. And I'm like, just pretend to be dead. Pretend to be dead.
The acting when they were stabbing each other and, like, especially Matthew Lillard as Stu, like, losing blood, was so good. All of the acting in this movie was phenomenal, in my opinion. But especially the scene where Billy and Stu are stabbing each other. Oh my god, it was such good acting. I thought it was cool that the audience, for the most part, except for like seeing the killer's alibis and like when it cuts to like what Billy or Stu is doing in that moment, mostly the audience has Sid's point of view. So it's like you get all of the pieces of what's happening as she does, for the most part, and it's kind of like she's also putting it together with you. So the killer reveal must have been so interesting for her.
She was definitely as shocked as we were.
Back to the rules bit where the guy's drunk. My note says, the rules bit meta shit is everything to me. And then, do you know the part where Randy's watching a horror movie, and he's at the part where, like, the killer's behind the character, and he's like, no, look behind you, they're right there. And then they have in the Scream movie, they have a camera set up recording him with a 30-second delay. and then they're watching him on a
Yes.
30-second delay, being like, look behind you, the killer's there, but then he's drunk and doesn't notice that Ghostface is right behind him.
Yeah.
Because that shit fucking cracks me up. But the part where Sidney and her dad, like, escape when Billy and Sue are distracted, and
Yeah.
then they realize that they're gone, is so fucking funny because Billy runs into the living room and starts stabbing the couch and ripping up the couch as if they're going to be hiding inside the couch.
The
What was bro
testosterone.
doing?
The testosterone took
Testosterone made him
over.
crazy.
It
It
took
just took
over,
over and
man.
he was mad and just
He got too
ripping
much.
up the goddamn couch. The best Ghostface reveals are when it's women, right? Even if they're
Facts.
not Ghostface, women wearing the mask is so much cooler than when it's a man. Especially because the movie starts with them being like, it takes a man to do something like that. Like, it's so much cooler when it's a chick wearing it. And at
Facts.
the end of the movie, Sid takes their Ghostface masks and wears it, and then, like, rips it off dramatically. And it's such a nice shot. Like, I'm obsessed with her ripping off the mask. It looks so cool. Then the very last scene of the movie is Gail, like, doing a news cut, like preparing to go live, doing the news for whatever the fuck just went down. And she does look like a little walkthrough and like says like a really nice like intro story, and it's so like peaceful because it's just like a zoom out shot of like the sun rising and like Gail walking towards the house getting recorded and telling what just happened, and it's just like a really satisfying ending, and it's one of my favorite parts of the movie is how like peacefully it ends, and then it fades to black, and then just like for half a second the screen has really loud music play and it cuts to a picture of Ghostface, and then it goes back to black, and then like the credits roll, and it's such a fun ending.
That is interesting.
Scream does this thing in every movie, and they do it in this one too, where someone will open like a door or a cabinet or a fridge, and like the music will get all suspenseful, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, is someone behind the door?" And then they'll shut the door, and no one's there. And then they open another door, and you're like, "Oh my god, is someone behind the door?" And they shut the door, and no one's there. And then they do it a third time, and they shut the door, and then all of a sudden the killer's there, and they stab them. But like not specifically in that order, but they do that type of bit a lot with doors in every single movie, and it cracks me up, and it kind of goes, the more you watch Scream movies, you start to realize that about 50% of the time they do what is expected, because they're part of their bit is like it's a meta horror movie that kind of makes fun of horror movies. So 50% of the time it does the most expected thing possible. Like this first movie, it's really obvious the boyfriend is the killer and the boyfriend was the killer, but 50% of the time they do the most unexpected thing possible. And because of this, at some point, the more movies you watch, you get worse at predicting what's going to happen because you realize that there's two paths anything could take, and you're like, man, are they going to do this really obvious thing or the complete opposite? And it's like that for like every single point of the movie, and I've gotten really bad at predicting like what's going to happen in the movies because I never know if they're going to do the expected thing or the unexpected thing. And I think the door bit highlights that really well, but also it cracks me up. Any thoughts?
I kind of tuned out like in and out halfway through, in and out in the end. But
That's okay. That's okay. I
opening
respect
doors
it.
and closing doors, and then
Yes, that was exactly what I
pretending
said.
it's like Monsters Inc. You know, you never know what you're gonna get, a monster
Yes.
or a
Scream
child.
is just Monsters Inc. Scream is just Monsters Inc., you know?
You get a monster or a
Um,
child. You never know.
I was gonna ask if you had any theories about which Ghostface did which kills, but you didn't watch the movie, so I don't think you, like, know enough to, like, make a
I
guess.
think
And
Billy
also,
killed Sydney's mom.
yes, that's established. But the third movie, like, retcons it and says that the third movie's killer told him to kill Sidney's mom instead of him coming up with the idea on his own, and I hate it. I hate the third movie. Anyway,
Wait, did I get
um,
that right? I was
oh,
totally bullshitting that.
yes, you're right. You're
That's so
right.
funny.
That's like a main plot point they reveal in the
Oh,
movie.
I don't
Um,
remember.
and it's in general which Ghostface killed which person is pretty established, but people do argue about it sometimes. But also, the actor who played Billy has no idea who did what kills because it was a stuntman. It's it's always a stuntman, and like they even asked like the director, and the director's like, "Bro, I just wrote the script, man. Like I don't know who did which kills. Like I guess you can put it together by seeing who has the alibis, but like no, like they didn't write the movie with like who did what kills in mind, and the actor who plays Ghostface doesn't even know who did which kills and which kills his character did. I think that's so funny.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of Telly Talk. You should definitely subscribe if you haven't already, because I know most of you that listen to us actually aren't subscribed. So you guys should definitely fucking hit that button. I know it flashes on the screen like every 5 minutes. You just fucking do it. Do it. Do it right now, and it's over. You don't even have to do it again. You just have to click it once. Definitely don't click it twice, because that'll. I'm not even gonna say what it does. When you should click the like button. That's a good button. It's a good happy button. You should always click the happy button. And you should also maybe comment something. Do you like Scream? Do you like horror movies? Do you not like horror movies? I am okay with horror movies. They're alright. This is a good one. Anyways.
Oh, we gotta rate it.
Oh,
we
we
gotta
didn't
rate it
rate
and
it.
favorite
Oh my
characterize it.
My favorite
Fuck.
character
Who's your favorite
was
character?
Stu, because I love Matthew Lillard.
Silly gay boy?
Yeah, I like the silly gay boy.
Silly gay boy. Stu is definitely one of my favorite characters. I also like Dewey, but he wasn't like at his peak in this movie. He has better moments. Yeah. Stu. We like Stu.
Favorite little silly gay boy. I give it a 4.8 out of 5.
You know what? Me
Cool.
too. I'm surprised we agreed. I didn't think you'd like it as much as I do.
No, I thought it was pretty good when the first time I watched it.
Oh yeah. It's like, it's so perfect because it's just a well-made movie. The acting's good. And then just it does like meta really, really well, which is hard to pull off. And it's so funny, but also suspenseful.
You guys should definitely try out our other videos, because they're great. Don't.
Because we have a lot of them, and we're gonna make more.
Yeah. Every single week we have a new episode of Telly Talk. Don't you dare watch episode 13 of Telly Talk. That episode should not have any views on it. Don't watch it.
Oh right, don't watch the last episode. You're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to. Bye.
Bye.